One thing that makes good Catholics nervous when they hear about science and faith, or even the word evolution, is that they feel that the minute we change our understanding of Genesis from a literal description to a prophetic one, then we cast out the concept of original sin. That is an extremely simple understanding of original sin. The truth is far more intense. H. Richard Niebuhr, although not Catholic, recognized that in order to find original sin, we did not have to look in the book of Genesis as proof of its existence. The proof is all around us. Richard Niebuhr explained that the doctrine of original sin is the only empirical verifiable doctrine of the Christian faith, a quote he found in the London Times. Let us understand what original sin is. Many will say that original sin is where Eve, tempted by the serpent, disobeys God and eats the fruit off a tree, although God forbade her and Adam to do that. Remember, Genesis is also giving us a deeper meaning, not a literal construct. So we need to look closely at the deeper meaning. We can find it by looking at the temptation itself. What was it? It was to be like gods. In other words, the true nature of our sin and original sin lies in the struggle humans have between being gods in a world without other gods or recognizing and obeying the one true God. The message of Genesis is that the first Homo sapiens chose to reject God for the chance to be gods. To this day, this still is the struggle of the human race. This is the legacy of original sin. The legacy of original sin is living in such a way that we decide that we are the true God and no one else, that we are our own truth. In our own time, this is a most profound legacy of original sin. Socrates defined wisdom as knowing that we did not know. It is when we decide that we can be like gods and do what we want that we lose our grasp on true wisdom and become blind to the reality of our existence. Faith tells us that there is a bigger reality than we can perceive, that there is a truth beyond us to which, when we are humble before it, we become infused by it. Further, if we reject this truth and assume that we are gods, we discover that we are incapable of building a world as if we were. In other words, there is a flaw in our construct which leads us to imperfection. Over time, over generations, that flaw undermines human progress. This is the reality of original sin, and it is clear that we can trace that flaw to the origins of our species. We need to look at the reality of good and evil. What is good? What is evil? How are they defined? In the faith world, good is as eternal as God because good is the quality of God. If we assume no God, then where does good come from and how do we define it? This is why Jesus' description of goodness, wisdom, and truth in terms of light is so powerful. If God is light, where do I go if I walk away from him? I walk into darkness. If we assume God, and as Jesus explains, he is the definition of good, then we can understand evil. St. Augustine explained that evil is the privation of the good. If I know the source of all that is good and I turn and walk away from it, where do I go? I go to where good is not. Evil is where good is not. This is why Jesus' description of goodness, wisdom, and truth in terms of light is so powerful. So if we look at our inclination to sin in terms of the source of all that is good, all that is true, or even as the source of all that is light, and we turn away from it, what do we have left? That which is not true, that which is not good, and that which is not light. If we are incapable on our own of becoming light, truth, and good, we need an outside force, that is Christ.